Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Pond, awards editor at TheWrap, and we're happy to have you here for the Wrap's Awards Season screening series and for today's screening of Extracurricular, which is Croatia's entry for Best International Film. We're going to show you a trailer for the movie, and then we'll go right into a conversation with director Ivan Goran Vitez. To the audience, please participate in the live chat by sharing your thoughts about the film in the chat section to the right of the screen. Now, to start out, here's the trailer for Extracurricular.
Jedinicama situacija 15.3 u osnovnoj školi Bilima Frančića. Sve jedinice hitno pred osnovnu školu Bilima Frančića.
Gradonačelnici Zagreba. Aha. A šta mi se događa u gradu?
Naoružani muškarac, kako neslužbeno doznajemo, otac jedne od djevojčica trećih razreda, drži jedan treći razred kao taoce s nejasnim namjerama.
Napravili smo mi brzijski psihološki profil. Psihologica ga je napravila, moja nečaka. Školovana mala, a nezaposlena.
Moj tata je policajac. Ubit će vas ko zeca kad vas vidi.
Ali ne može on s puškom među djecom.
I ti svaki dan s pištoljem pri školu.
I onaj mali koji nam je uništio bojler u kupaonici.
Bio je već pokvaren kad sam ušao.
Mi ćemo reći policiji da oni očiste koridor. Pustite prvo djevojčicu.
Niko nikud ne ide dok se policija ne makne.
Jebene autist.
Da se nisi rastajala, ovog ne bi ni bilo.
Jeste naši dečki unutra?
Ušli su, zauzimaju pozicije i javit će čim budu spremni.
Pazi, samo da mi neko dijete ne naleti na mene. 10 dana prije izbora.
Može kratak pregled situacije. Za lokalno HR, a da staviš na Facebook. Što da stavim na Facebook? Male mace kak si grickaju uši male.
Žena mu je Bomanova sestra.
Jesi ti još u kontaktu sa djetom?
Nabroj 3 načina uporabe vode u kućanstvu.
To još nismo radili.
Pa koju pičku materinu diraš bojler kad to još niste radili?
Sad je dosta. Dijete mi je unutra. Kuda idem, šta je?
Ne privlači pažnju.
Čevice, pustite nas da radimo svoj posao.
Pudi me do sina ove sekunde!
Aha, tata policajac, jel? Krasno si sina odgojio. Što veće krvoproliće, manje će ljudi obraćati pažnju na detalje.
Bićemo tu! Jedemo tortu! I nigdje niko ne ide!
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce director Ivan Goran Vitez. Welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for being part of this, and thank you for a movie that is very hard to describe, as the trailer probably showed. So
I'm not sure if you've seen the other trailer with the children singing, the conceptual one, which I prefer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But I think the producer said it today to the Dropbox link with all the materials, so you can see it there. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's it been like opening a movie during a pandemic? I mean, how has it changed things for you?
Well, we opened it the last year before the pandemic in the November of 2019, so I didn't have the experience of opening a film in the pandemic.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So what led you to this subject? What led you to want to tell this particular story?
Well, when I started to think about this film, I wanted to make it some kind of the warning to people not to act this way, because we in the film have the enraged father who bursts into the school of his 9-year-old daughter because it's her birthday and he doesn't have the right to be with her on her birthday. And from that initial situation, all hell breaks loose. The hostage crisis ensues, and the mayor of the city, 10 days before the local elections in the city, will do everything to make the situation work in his to use it to help him on the upcoming elections.
Yeah.
And there are lots more characters, but it's hard not to spoil the movie since it's the thriller. It begins as a thriller, but as it progresses, it becomes a social satire. I like to call it social satire.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting watching it. As an American viewer, I mean, it's got the corrupt politicians. It's got somebody who freaks out when he's kicked off social media. In it doesn't feel foreign. But I mean, when you were writing it and when you were making it, were you thinking of it as being a universal story, or were you thinking of it as being a story from Croatia?
Yeah, but it is a story from Croatia, but with universal points. In Croatia, we didn't yet have to face with the problem with the school shootings, as you do. But our country is also full of guns due to the war in the 90s. Even the year and a half ago, some maniac shot and killed his social worker and his attorney in smaller Croatian town of Đakovo. So I made this film as a warning that this is not the solution. That if you make the first enraged decisions to make if you make some plan based on the first enraged decisions, it won't end well. The consequences won't be the consequences you want it to be, probably.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not naive enough to believe it will change anybody's mind in the state of rage, but who knows? As a matter of fact, the day after the Croatian premiere of this film in our neighboring country of Serbia, almost the same initial situation from this film happened. Some enraged father burst into the school, local high school, and the PE teacher disarmed him before he had the chance to harm anybody. So this film is prophetic of the kind.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it certainly ups the stakes significantly when you set it in a school with a third grade class.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do that?
Because I think that we have the protagonist, this father. He's the recently divorced man. He's an unemployed father who lost his right to be heard in the society and even in his family, and not without reason, And I wanted to warn the society about these people that exist here around us, and we have to be careful not to. I mean, we don't have to be too much careful not to enrage them. We have to live our life, but we have to be prepared when something like this happens, to which consequences it might lead.
Yeah.
I wanted to make the film that is warning. When I started to make this movie, I felt like I was in some kind of the battle with time. I had to finish it before something like this really happens, and we managed to do that here in Croatia. I hope it won't happen, anything like this.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would think the tone of the movie would be very tricky to pull off, because the first stretch of the movie does feel like, a thriller or a drama of sorts, but then it gets more and more extreme, and there's black humor, but really black. I mean, how tricky was it to work out the tone?
Well, it's the style I prefer to work. In my previous films, I also use that style. Mm-hmm. And you're correct. Extracurricular starts as a hostage crisis thriller, but converts the initial situation to the edge of the absurdity. But I think it's just the edge of absurdity. It doesn't become absurd enough. I really believe things like this could have happened in Croatia, just like it happened in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are clues through the first half of the movie that things are going to get extreme, and that we shouldn't be taking everything quite at face value. I mean, there are times when, when the music comes in a certain way, and it's almost like horror movie music, and then there's the reporter's eyes go crazy, or the wall behind the mayor. So I mean,
black out.
Yeah. So what was the thinking there? I mean, were you trying to, give the audience clues for where you're going?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm the proponent of the idea of the film being a way of communication between the author and the wide audience, and wider the better, And for that communication to even be possible, you have to address the audience in the language they are willing to hear. So the film genre as thriller can be used as the first step in the attempt to make that conversation start. And that's the main reason I prefer using the genre. And then by bending these established rules. For a bit, I try to transmit some of my observations, which I believe to be important to the unsuspecting audiences. So the principle is to lure the audience by giving them something they want, and that is to be entertained and thrilled, but then to give them much more. The goal was to make entertaining and at the same time socially relevant movie.
Yeah. So how did you work with the children? I mean, obviously you have to protect the children on the set, but they are acting out a pretty terrifying situation.
We have a long period of rehearsals. First, we have the period of auditions. I made the auditions between some 100 and something school kids, and after I picked the two most prominent, I made some month and maybe even 2 months of rehearsals with kids. But the situations on the set is something you have to prepare the children for the work on set, and when there are lots of children, they start to act between themselves. So it wasn't much of the problem to work with children. When you have a bunch of them, they start to act for one another.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
it wasn't the main problem in the movie.
Right.
We were shooting during the school holidays, and we didn't have much time even to finish all the scenes we have to shoot in the school, and we have some other problems. Maybe I'll talk about it, maybe I won't, but the kids were least.
Right. Okay. So what were the biggest challenges in making this movie?
The budget is always the challenge in Croatia. We filmed this movie with less than $500,000, and this is the low budget film even from Croatian standards. And we have limited amount of time to shoot it, and in the middle of the shooting, the tragedy hit. One of the actors, the one who was supposed to play the janitor Drago, one of the possibly greatest Croatian film actors, Ivo Gregurević, died out of stroke in the middle of the shooting after the half of his scenes were already shot. So we have to reshoot all of these scenes during the school holidays and not to lose any shooting day doing it. That was the biggest challenge. And the other challenges is, we were shooting in the winter, we were shooting in the natural locations, so it's the usual film challenges. But the tragedy of Ivo passing away was the biggest challenge of the movie.
Yeah, right.
I even made the dedication to him. If you've seen if you watch the movie after the closing credits, you will see the dedication to the actor who should have been played the janitor. But the other actor who we replaced him with was brilliant also. So
yeah, I mean, the other actor is great in that role. I mean, was that somebody you just went out to and cast immediately and brought him in?
I had a plan with him with some in my other movie, but we couldn't make it then. So, but the other actor, Zlatko Buric, who played the janitor at the end, is completely other kind of actor than Ivo Gregurević was. Ivo Gregurević was quiet and stern, and he was even a little scary. But this other one was scary because his composure. He was a big guy, he looked like a bear. So we have to make that part a little bit different than we were doing it with Ivo. Ivo was stern, and the other one, Zlatko, which you see in the movie, is like some of the big smiling Buddha who is not so scary until the moment he has to be scary.
Yeah. Right. So when you were shooting, I mean, you said you had to make adjustments to the character. I mean, were there other things that changed during the shoot that you weren't planning on?
Well, not much, you know. I like to start shooting with the storyboard prepared, and in so little time we have to shoot this movie. We have to be prepared, and we have to have the strict screenplay, and we just have to shoot what we were planning to do. So we have, you know, with all of the bad luck we had, we also have lots of the good luck, so we can end this film in 30 shooting days.
Yeah.
We didn't change much. You know, I like to start the movie knowing what I'm going to do, not to try to find the tone of the movie while making it.
Yeah. Right. So you had 30 shooting days, and how much of that was at the school?
To the school, I think it was some 2 weeks. 12 days at the school, some week in front of the school, a week in the mayor's office, and other scenes we put always in these 30 shooting days. So 2 or 3 weeks inside of the school.
Yeah. So have you heard from any politicians after this movie came out in Croatia? Because as corrupt politicians go, this guy is really corrupt.
Yeah, but no, I haven't heard from any politicians. As a matter of fact, our Ministry of Culture was very positively. They were very positive about the movie. So I was really, the mayor in this film isn't really any real person. It's an amalgam of few of the politicians. He's a typical political opportunist that are all around us today. And I didn't want him to make him one person in the real life.
Right.
It's not even important which political side he belongs to. I just wanted to make the logic of his analysis of the situation, which I strongly believe is true, is the same in the reality amongst the people on the high political positions. You know, after all, in the movie we see his political opponent ponders the same way, so there is not a lot of difference between them.
Right. And yet at the same time, I mean, it may be logical from a political point of view, but what he's suggesting is so horrifying.
Nuts. Yeah, he completely nuts. And who knows? In today's situation, even his logic would pass, maybe, if it wasn't for not to spoil anything, for the man who saves the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, his logic is monstrous, but I think it's believable. Even just because it's monstrous, I think it's believable.
Right.
Because we know how our politicians think these days.
Yes, we're all familiar with monstrous politicians, regardless of the country.
Regardless of the country, we're all part of this Western civilization, and the sole virtue of Western civilizations has become opportunism. And if you're opportunistic enough, that's your main character flaw. Your main character flaw and your main character virtue for the politicians to make some points in his political career.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know you direct a lot of TV and theater in addition to film. I mean, when you started your career as a director, were films something in particular you wanted to get into, or
yes,
direct?
I was a child actor. I acted as a child, both in theater and in film. But I chose the film as my main business. But when I finished the film school, I worked as an assistant director a lot on 60 or 70 films. So I have lots of experience on being on set, So I know what it is to be prepared director on the set.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean, were there times as an assistant director where you really, you knew that, okay, I want to do this myself, not just be an assistant director?
Yes, I finished the film school before that, so I always wanted to be the director, but you can, before you get your chance, you have to work to live, and I had that kind of luck to work on the film sets and to make my knowledge from the film school even wider.
Yeah, right. So at this point in your career, do you still plan on going back and forth between film and television and theater?
Oh, well, in the last year, I even directed 2 theater plays since the film productions almost stopped. So I directed in Croatia 2 theater plays. Maybe you even know one of them is David Jeverbaum's An Act of God, but Croatian version. I don't know if you've heard of it. And the other is Peter Quilter's, the British author, The Duets, it's called. Right. So in this situation, it's easier to direct in the theater with few actors than on the film set with a crew of 50 or 100 people.
Yeah. I mean, do you find that the process is similar, or are there,
The process is completely different, and I prefer the process of the movies.
Really?
I prefer the adrenaline of the film set than the slow cooking of the theater play. In the theater, you have to be there 2 months with the same actors day after day, and prepare them to be the best they can on the opening day. In the film, you have, and the theater is the actor's medium, and the film is, after all, the director's medium. I have the more control on the film than in the theater.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, how closely do you work with your directors? Do you do a lot of rehearsal beforehand, or, I mean, with your actors?
With your actors, yes, I like to do a lot of rehearsals because I believe they can help the initial script or the screenplay with their own ideas. So I like to rehearse a lot because we don't have a lot of time to rehearse on the set. And in the theater, you have to rehearse a lot. You have to be with them when they're learning their lines. But for the movie, I think it's pretty important to rehearse a lot with the actors. I have lots of actors in the extracurriculars, and I have to explain all of them the tone of the movie I want the movie to have. And there are actors from the different theaters, and they all have their own kind of their style of acting, and you have to put them all in one place and make something nobody would jump in their interpretation of their character.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine it is such a particular tone that you're trying to get. It's probably not something that a lot of the actors are used to delivering.
Yes, the tone. No, I like the satire. I like the tone to be satirical, but as I said earlier, I think we live in the post-satirical society. You can make anything, any caricature, more caricaturalistic, is it the word?
I don't know if it is, but we know what it means.
Yeah, than it is in the real life, because I have the satirical view of my surroundings, but I think in the recent times the reality become far more satirical, far more caricatural than I could put it in the movie to be believable. I don't know if you know the late William Goldwyn's example about the man who jumps over the wall of the Buckingham Palace, just enters the Buckingham Palace through the door, walks by all the guards, and comes to the Queen's room, almost opens the room. And if you put it in a movie, nobody would believe it. Nobody would believe it is possible, but it's the thing that really happened. So some things that really happened is not believable in the movie.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, when you were making Extracurricular, were there times when you wanted to do something and you thought, I can't pull this off. It's too over the top, or it's.
No, well, when I'm working on a screenplay, that's the point in time when I make these kind of decisions. But on the set, not as such.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I really can't remember if there were such a thing in the extracurricular that I censored myself,
Right. Yeah. So you don't remember any instances when you were writing it where you thought, no, I can't go there.
No, when I'm writing, I have to have the pretty precise outline when I write. I like to think about the movie for a month, 2, 3, 6 months before I start to write. Then I write an outline, pretty precise outline, and then I start to write the dialogues. And in thinking about the movie and in writing the outline, and when I'm writing the dialogues, I try to surprise myself as much time as it's possible, So I really don't remember that I surprised myself in a way that I said, no, that's too much. I don't think I went too far in any of the situations in the movie.
Right. Right. Well, I wonder what was the initial, when you started thinking about it and outlining? I mean, what was the premise or the event or whatever that you started with? I mean, was it the guy going into the school?
Yeah, this was the guy going into a school in the corrupt little city in Croatia, and what consequences would his actions follow,
Mm-hmm.
And we are living that. I don't know how much you know about Croatia, but we all feel all the little countries in Europe feel like a 51st American state. We are so much under the American influence. Yeah, now I remember. Do you know the film? I don't know what was it called. It should have gone to the distribution. I think it was called The Hunt, about the white elites who are using the poor white people as a prey.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer of that film, and in that film, some character removes the license plates, American license plates, from the car, and under these American license plates are the version of Croatian license plate. So the place where they're hunting him in the film is obviously Croatia. So we're not so far apart.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
If you see the trailer, there is one shot of removing the license plates, and the license plates under the American ones are Croatian ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? Do you have something else coming up?
I just have the premiere of the theater play some 3 weeks ago, so now I'm just resting,
Mm-hmm.
And nothing. In Croatia, there is a silent lockdown. You could shoot the movies, but nobody's prepared to shoot the movies and go in this kind of risk to stop the production because of the coronavirus. So we're just waiting for all of this situation to stop.
Yeah.
And right now we have the other problem. We're just in a series of earthquakes. We have the major one in March in Zagreb, but now there was an earthquake some 2 weeks ago, some 50 kilometers. That will be 20 miles off of Zagreb, and every day there is a little earthquake. So if I jump and run off, it's because I just felt an earthquake, not because I don't like your questions.
Right. Well, hey, I live in Los Angeles. I'll understand. I've been through a few.
So I like to be positive. I like to think positive. So I think of this earthquakes as preparations for our inevitable visit to LA in April.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So do you have ideas though for when it is safe to start up work again?
Yeah, I have the idea. I want to make the equalization of one of the novel of one Bosnian author, some pre-apocalyptic or even post-apocalyptic world, and some love triangle in part of this pre or post-apocalypse. But I have to concentrate, but and now it's really hard to concentrate.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you very much.
to
Yeah,
join us today.
I said I couldn't be there with you, but you know the situation is like it is.
Yeah. And
it's impossible to travel.
most years we do this at a theater in Los Angeles, and it would have been great, but but thank you for doing this, and to everybody out there, thank you for joining us. And be sure to take advantage of the free trial to TheWrap Pro, so you'll know about the upcoming screenings and events, and also check our screening page at screenings.thewrap.com. So Ivan, thank you so much.
And I could, if I just want to say that the possible viewers could watch the film on the Academy channel. But they probably know that.
And also everybody who was invited to this does have a link as well. So yes, I'm sure the ones who haven't seen it will want to see it after the conversation. I mean, it's definitely something you guys need to see.
Thanks.